Hello and welcome to Mountain West Financial Setting Yourself Up for Success webinar series. Today we will be covering session 3 of 6 productivity tips. Although we set aside a full hour for today's presentation, we will be finishing up a little earlier so you can get back to your current activities. Your presenters today are Gary Martell, one of MWF's co-founders and presidents. Mr. Martell has been in the mortgage industry for over 30 years, most of those years as an originator. He helped create MWF's Loan Officer Academy, a no-cost 7-week mortgage education course, which is open to the public. He is also very dedicated to promoting education in the mortgage industry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Also, who else is presenting is, as you've been listening, Angela Perez. She works in the Mountain West Financial Training and Education Department and is our financial education training specialist. She's been with us for over 6 years, and during those 6 years, she's interviewed some of our top originators, business development managers, as well as some of our top realtor partners. So today we're going to review some successful habits and organizational tools that are being used out there today. This is part of a 6-series presentation. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to listen to a few of the others on the way here, and we have 2 more left after today. So with that, we're going to get started.
Okay, the next few slides we're going to share the healthy habits of our top originators implementing in their daily habits. The consistent common factor is high originators are always pushing themselves. Plain old-fashioned elbow grease, desire, and drive. Our top performers always have their motors on high. They are always asking for the business and engaging in community activities and looking for ways to make improvements. Part of being a successful loan officer is to know how to promote yourself. If they experience a setback, they review their activities. With ambition, drive, and competitiveness, this describes our top originator. With that, everything is measured. I like John Katie's remark in our first series. He mentioned numbers don't lie. The best performers know their numbers exactly. They can tell you how many realtor prospecting calls and past client calls they take in a given period of time. They track ratios because numbers don't lie. Now, how do you keep yourself accountable? Have you shared your goals with your family, your friends, and your support team? Don't be afraid to ask for help. True professionals see their goals as a challenge to improve and grow. Sharing your goals is announcing that you're ready to reach them.
Everybody who's going to be successful and who has been successful in this business has had goals. Otherwise, it's too easy not to know where you're going. Therefore, you get off track, and it's too easy for you to allow yourself to get off the hook. So make sure that you set some basic goals, share them with people, share them with your management. This allows you to show how dedicated you are to both your business and your personal goals. So we're going to share some of those, how to go about doing that in just a minute.
Have you completed the projection tool? That was the tool that John went over in our first series. Do you know how many loans you'd like to close this year? It seems obvious that you need a plan once you decide on your goal. However, when I ask a loan officer if he or she has a business plan, I usually receive a reason as to why they don't have one. Our best performers have a plan, that's simple. They measure what it will take to accomplish the overall goal. Here's a copy of the tool we reviewed in our first webinar. You can download the projection tool from our wholesale training page by going to www.mwfwholesale.com, Education tab, and under that tab you'll find handouts. Now you can also go to our handouts within the GoToWebinar panel. If you just hit that red arrow over, you can download the handout there as well.
So next, here's an accountability tool. There's a lot of different ways to do this. This is just one tool that we put out there. At the beginning of each period that you're working on a goal, first of all, you need to put down what type of activities am I going to do to achieve the goal, what kind of milestones am I going to create, and then if you've got them committed to something where you can go back and look at, you want to be able to put something out for yourself to follow, like a path to follow along to get to your goal, and then you want to have a tool that allows you to stop at regular points, typically weekly, and review the activities, where you spent your time, and this is one of the tools that we have that's available to do that. So next you want to create your own business plan. So this is pretty straightforward. If you've not created a business plan before, you want to start real basic, right? Commit to paper what you'd like to accomplish and over what period of time. I suggest you begin with a year. Since we're in production, it seems pretty straightforward that we should set our goals to some sort of production goals. So one of the things you want to do is put out goals. Now again, this is a really basic sheet, and I'm giving you something to look at. A lot of people will write their goal down, they'll type it out, they'll put it in bold letters. You know, they'll put it places that can remind them all year. One of the reasons why I do certain things is I want to achieve this. I mean, there can be one-year goals, can be both personal and professional. You should keep it simple and keep it only down to a couple. Some could be like, for a personal goal, I want to buy an RV at the end of this year.
Another great one could include getting licensed in another state.
Yep. Or maybe my goal is to lose 20 pounds this year. Right? Professional goals are a little easier for us in the mortgage business because we can say, hey, I want to close, say, 120 loans this year, right? That equates to 10 a month, and maybe it's not 10 every month, but at the end of the year, I want to make sure I've closed 120. Maybe I also want to make like $180,000 this year. You could have longer range goals, right? Maybe I want to get a college degree, and since I work full-time and maybe I have a family or other obligations, maybe I want to take 1 or 2 classes, so it's a 5 or 10-year plan. Maybe I want to buy a second home in the mountains.
Or you could possibly make a goal as to pay off all your debt, increase your FICO, learn how to help your borrowers that come to you.
Yep. Maybe I want to have 5 more children. That'd only be like 1 a year. You can have professional goals that say, hey, maybe this year I want to close 180, maybe next year I want to close 240 loans, or maybe I want to open a second location or hire a couple loan officers. There's a lot of different things. But again, if you don't commit them to paper and you don't have them to look at, and then you would start from there and start to work backwards. So once we put those goals out, we want to create milestones. Again, the most simple way to do this, start where you want to be and then start walking backwards until you get there. Because if you don't have the timeline put out that you can get there, and you don't have the milestones, then odds are you're not going to get it. And you always want to be consistent, but make sure you're flexible. You want to review your business plan on a regular basis and make sure that the activities that you're committing to, whether it be daily, weekly, or monthly, are in alignment with where you want to go as a goal. There are some people who go, oh, I want to do this, but at the end of the day, you look at the activity and say, that's not going to get you there. You know, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to take some trips. I want to, like Angela said, I want to get some additional education, or I want to get into some personal improvement courses. But if you're not putting those down and committing to them, that's not going to happen. Again, we have the ability to look at what activities we're going to get into every day, and with that, we make those day-to-day decisions. So really, you got to start with building a plan. And a plan for each one of us is different because we all kind of run differently, right? So what I'm going to do, if I want to close 120 loans, and maybe I'm at 120 loans because I've been doing this for several years. Maybe if you're brand new to this business, you're going to commit to trying to close 30 loans this year. That doesn't mean 3 a month. That means by the end of the year, you'd close 30. And what we'd have to do then is we start working backwards, say, well, if I'm going to close 120 loans, because all of the applications I take don't necessarily close, I'm probably going to have to take maybe 150 or 160 applications. And for every application that I take, I need to qualify about maybe 6 or 7 people. So maybe I got to pre-qualify 20 people to get 3 actual live complete applications. And maybe in order to get 20 people that I can really pre-qualify, I have to talk to 300 people about what I do for a living, right? That I actually help people obtain home ownership and that I do home loans. And in order to talk to those 300 people, I have to get myself in front of them. One of the things we've talked to through the years is you can't sit at home and hope to be a really productive loan officer. Somebody said something a couple weeks ago I just thought was brilliant. Said, sometimes I run into originators that are undercover loan officers. And I just think, if you think about that, it's like they don't really want to tell people what they do. And yet when you look back and say, well, why aren't you really productive? Well, because I don't share that this is what I do for a living, that I don't help people obtain home ownership. So you just need to realize if you're building a plan, it has to start with some basic building blocks, right? You can't close 120 loans unless you go to a lot of activities that are going to get you in front of the people that can help you obtain home ownership.
Not too long ago, I watched one of Bill Hart's short clips. He begins each year with a new calendar. He and his wife input all the meetings, presentations, doctor dental visits. They plan their family vacation and input the kids' days off and activities. Imagine your 2017 calendar laid out and organized. This will leave you time to input your work goals. Every day you would know exactly what needs to get done. No guessing, just action. One analogy I can think of is sports. I'm not a sports fan, but I know enough to understand that if the players and the coach didn't have a preset plan, it would be chaos on the field.
And I'm not an avid sports fan, but I can agree with you that if there isn't a laid out plan and some goals and everybody's striving to get to that same place, they definitely won't be a winning team. So let's look at a calendar. I think all of us have these type of tools. I put a calendar out there, just has some items on there. And if we're going to do 30 activities, that equates, if I only work 5 days a week, and by the way, most people, we're all limited to how much time we have, and we'll break that down. But let's just say I'm willing to work 10 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. If I'm going to do 30 activities, and I'm just picking that number because it kind of works for a lot of people, that ends up being about 6 activities for every business day. And when I say an activity, that doesn't mean going to lunch or turning my computer on. That means an activity that gets me in front of potential referral sources or home buyers, right? And the type of things that I do with that is going out and interacting with people that can refer folks, right? If I go to a real estate office, obviously that's a pretty good activity. If I go to an open house over the weekend, or I go to the realtor office, talk to a CPA, accountant, insurance agent, small business groups, right? Some of us belong to professional business groups, or all of us interact with other business people. One of the things that just really shocks me is when I talk to an originator and I go, hey, so who does your car? Who does your hair? Who does all the different things for you? Do they know that you're in the mortgage business? Because every time I talk to somebody, if I go to the doctor or the dentist and I get a couple minutes to talk to them, I should be telling them I do home loans. Hey, can I put my flyers in your waiting area? Because people wait for a half hour to get to see you. Wouldn't it be neat if they looked at my stuff? And that way I could maybe co-brand you. And then I'll smile in front of people so they can see you did my teeth, and hopefully that doesn't look so bad. But if you don't have a calendar where you've laid out your activities and honor them and honor your time, then you're going to fall short of what you want to do. Again, you put a goal out there, you put milestones, you put activities, and in those activities, you're going to create yourself opportunities to be able to obtain your goals. So, and a business calendar really should have about 75% of your active day filled with marketing, promoting, and taking applications. Those are really the items that are the most powerful for you. Because realistically, when I turn on my computer and I play solitaire, or I look up something on Google that is really not work-related, or I read one of the stories about the news today, none of that stuff's going to help me build my business. And one of the things I just heard the other day that I thought was really worthwhile, really compelling, is a lot of times what happens is we work on something, and all of a sudden we get a crisis that takes us away from what I would consider the high return activity. Like if I'm marketing today, I'm building my income for tomorrow. Would you guys all agree with that? So the hours that I spend marketing and promoting today are hopefully planting seeds that will create income for tomorrow. So when I go to market or promote myself today and all of a sudden I get sidetracked by a shiny penny and I don't do that, I'm basically taking income off the table for the future. So I go out and I start going to my real estate offices, which I know is really the high return activity for today, and then I get a call from my processor, oh, we got an approval back and they suspended a loan instead of approving it and they added some additional conditions. So hopefully I don't stop what I'm doing and go work on a suspense, because first of all, I should have a good processor. But second of all, if I work on that suspense in 2 hours as opposed to right now, I will still have accomplished my high return activities of the day. I'll still get that suspense worked out, or my processor hopefully will. But either way, what I can't let that do is derail me, because I can tell you, if I were walking into a room to take an application for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 loan application, they said, hey, don't take that application right now, come work on the suspense, I hope you know what the answer should be with that. So again, honor the commitments, put your schedule out there, put yourself in a position where you can make future income, go out there and market and promote yourself, because that is your highest return activity. So let's talk about achieving goals, because if we put ourselves a goal out there and we achieve it, we all feel good. So let's say I have a goal out there for this year. I wanted to close 120 loans. And I get 3/4 of the way through and things aren't going quite as I planned. At the end of the year, I only close 110 loans instead of 120. Am I a failure or am I a success? I can tell you that had I not had 120 as my goal, I would not have been doing the activities and I would not have been pushing myself and promoting myself to get to the 110. So if I close only 110 loans this year instead of 120, I would still consider that a pretty good. And I think that's what a lot of people, why they don't commit and put their goals on paper and share it with other people. Because what happens if I put 120 and I don't make it? What does that make me look like? Well, I'll tell you, the 110 loans this year, that makes me look pretty darn good. That puts me in the top 5% of originators in the country, right? So one of the big things you want to do is don't be afraid to put a goal out there, even if it's a stretch goal, even if it's not a stretch goal, put it out there so you can achieve it. And as you can see by our little diagram there, no goal goes perfect, right? You don't start and it's just a beeline and boom, there you're there. So I have to tell you, one of the other important things about goals is you want to reward yourself for hitting your milestones and your goals. I had a goal out there of getting my bachelor's degree, and some of you that know me know that I started out of college. I started out of high school and got sidetracked as becoming a restaurant manager, and then started making money and having kids and family. And at the end of the day, I got sidetracked. But I always kept that out there as one of my goals. I never gave up, and it took me a couple of years. I actually didn't get my my degree till I was 53. Which is kind of late, but and I didn't get a raise, I didn't get a higher paycheck because of that, but I'll tell you what, from satisfaction standpoint and knowing that I put a goal out there that really most people get accomplished in 4 or 5, I guess this time it's 6 years out of high school, but I still got it accomplished, and to me, that's the type of thing that you want to put out there, is a goal that even if you don't achieve it when you're supposed to, you still keep your eye on the ball. So one of the other things is you need to give yourself rewards when you do achieve a goal, right? If I have milestones and every time I achieve one, there's like no fanfare, no confetti, no champagne, no anything, then what happens is it kind of loses a little bit of its luster. So I really encourage all of you to have milestones, and depending on the size, the type of the milestone, give yourself a reward for getting there. If you decide, hey, I want to go out and lose 30 pounds, then you should treat yourself to something because you've achieved that goal. If you want to get a certain amount of education or you want to get a certification of some kind. Well, I'll give you another story. A long time ago when I first got in this business, I went 6 months without closing a loan. My very first 6 months, very, very lean. The 8th month, I made well over $5,000 take-home pay. That went from 6 months, no pay. Now, this is back in the 80s, so that money, I don't know what that equates to today, but it was a pretty good check. I stopped to reward ourselves. My wife and I shared a bottle of champagne that, as I recall, was about $120 back then. I've never paid that much for a bottle of champagne since, and I know I never had before that. And I can tell you we sipped on that, and I could still visualize the night, the reward, the goal for working so hard and not giving up, and being able to get to the point where I made that kind of money. I've never looked back since then, but I got to tell you, that first 6, 7 months, and when I opened up that bottle of champagne and was able to celebrate. Now, there's a lot of different things that people have that are goals, right? And a lot of different rewards. Now, champagne may not be something for everybody. Maybe it's a weekend trip. Maybe it's to treat yourself to, I don't know, a piece of jewelry, or maybe it's to take a 3-week vacation somewhere. Whatever it is, if it is in line with what your goal and your milestone is, make sure you take the time to stop, smell the roses, and celebrate, because really that makes a lot of goals worthwhile.
Do you remember what the bottle of wine was named, the champagne?
I think it was Chandon something or another.
Oh, okay. So here we have time management. We're all equal when it comes to time. Value your time, and other people will do the same. Once a week, take a time audit to look over where your time is going during the week. I would also pay attention to where you are spending your time on a business day. Notice how you use your time during the weekend. And you can start with 5 minutes of just sitting down at your desk, switching off the computer. Setting clear goals. Use a projection worksheet. Play with the numbers. By entering your goal, you can clearly see what you need to achieve to reach your financial goals. Next, you can break down your goals into discrete steps or milestones. After reviewing the hours required, you can now see where and how to reach that goal. And prioritizing, focus on urgent and important tasks rather than those that are not important or don't move you towards your goal.
So, as we said before, your most valuable time, and each one of us has to look at what we do and where our time is best spent, but it's really promoting, marketing, and taking applications. And there's studies out there from NAM and from MBA that show that the average loan officer spends less than somewhere between 25 and 35% of their time doing promotional and marketing for themselves. And yet when they're not doing it, there's nobody else really doing it for them. So you just wonder, what if I could take and spend 50% of my time on that? What kind of results would I get? And as Angela said, it's really important to take some time, and really you should debrief either in the morning or at night, or sometimes both, and take a look at how did I spend my day, how did I value my time, did I honor my commitments, how can I change this, or should I change it going forward, right? Because again, if I don't take the time to look at it and reflect and see how I'm spending my time, then I'm not going to make those adjustments, because each one of us is given only X amount of time, and there are some people that are able to close an incredible amount of transactions per month, and others are limited to very few, 1 or 2, and yet we have the same tools, the same time, the same program. So you just need to look at, what am I spending my time, and how dedicated am I to this? Do I want to hit these goals? Is this truly something, or is it just something I say and then I don't do it? So don't let perceived crises or perceived something that's out of control get in the way of your schedule. Once you put that in there, really work hard to honor it. As you can see by our graph up there, time will just slip through your fingers.
And by organizing your work schedule and creating lists to remind you of what you need to do, this is going to help you throughout your day. You should have an Outlook or another online tool that you can go to as a resource. All those online tools also have training, so you can go to their website and learn how to, input certain dates and schedule your calendar. At the end of the day, you need to ask yourself if time management has helped you or has time defeated
you. So let's look at this. I can't emphasize this enough. Again, we're all blessed with 24 hours a day. Typically, we're going to work, hopefully not more than 8 or 10 of them at any given day. but you can break it down to minutes, seconds, it's out there for thousands of seconds, but at the end of the day, it's all finite, right? The reason why I keep pointing this out is because we're all have the same amount of time, and how well we use that will have a direct correlation to our success. So one of the tools that I think everybody should really embrace and make sure they understand and use and makes them much more productive is having contact management system.
By maintaining a contact management system, you can leverage on a day how many pre-quals you are taking. You can input their contact information into your CMS. When you manage a CMS, you are preventing yourself from dropping the ball. There's no stacks of business cards in the drawer or notepads lost in time. As an originator, you must be available, accountable, and knowledgeable. Right now, I know who I can call and who will answer the phone. Availability will provide more business. This can easily be accomplished with a disciplined approach to leveraging a contact management system.
You need to look at your contact management system as an assistant, right? It enables you to leverage additional time that maybe you don't have. There is none of us that are so good that without some sort of an assistant like that, we remember who we were supposed to contact and where. All of us have either taken business cards or written down appointments or people's names or did a real basic interview or pre-qual and didn't get it into somewhere where it enabled us to put them on some sort of either drip campaign or reminder where I'm supposed to call back, contact, do something to somebody someday. So if you don't use contact management today or you don't really use it well, what I would highly recommend, if you want to be successful and leverage what time you have and be able to give yourself more time to market and promote yourself, is find somebody who is good at it and see if you could sit down with them, buy them a cup of coffee and say, hey, kind of give me an idea how you got this good. What tools did you use? How did you learn to do this? If you don't have another LO or branch manager that did, contact one of our BDMs for assistance. They'll be more than happy to either sit down and work with you or introduce you to somebody that embraces this and knows how to use it. Either way, you have some really incredible tools out there that if you leverage properly, it's like building a sales team underneath you.
Always seek knowledge. Below here we have a quote. It's kind of harsh, but real. Do you know all the programs you currently have available? One of our top originators advised that if you are not well versed in the programs available, you can accidentally lose a borrower. Back in the day, we used to ask, what is your niche? What is your product? What are you an expert on? Top originators have their products. The best performers commit themselves to becoming an expert on their craft, and by knowing the answers, people will rely on your expertise. With your success in mind, MWF has several recorded webinars on our products available on the wholesale webpage.
So I think this just kind of catapults into the fact that in your daily, weekly, monthly schedule, you have to also invest in yourself. You have to invest in your career as an originator. If you're going to be that trusted advisor, you need to understand the process and all the different pieces to it. There's several steps you can take, and maybe most of you have done all of this or some of this, but you need to find experts in areas, especially for industries or people that we work with day in and day out. If you've not spent some time with an escrow officer understanding what they do, I would again see if you could buy one of them a cup of coffee and spend an hour saying, kind of explain your job from start to finish. What are some of the challenges? What would make me a better lender and be more helpful and somebody you'd want to work with compared to some of the other people? Do the same thing with your title officers, your title reps. If you've never done a ride-along with an appraiser, I can tell you it's quite the experience to go out and appraise a house with somebody and understand what they have to look for and what they dig around. It gives you a different idea and an appreciation over, on one of your business partners. Oh, and by the way, these guys, if you spend the time doing that, will refer you to business because they know how dedicated you are. Also, there's a lot of other business management professionals. I can tell you when I first got into business, I paid for a lot of coffee, but I always tried to set time aside in my weekly thing to invest in myself. And I did a lot of it by meeting with other people. And again, twofold here. I can learn stuff and I could get a referral partner out of the same deal. But there's a lot of other things. We have so many online tools, webinars. If you don't spend some time and dedicate it every week, you're not going to get better. The people around you you're competing with are getting better, so you either keep up, get ahead of them, or fall behind, but you can't quit learning in this business. So the letters ASK, make sure that you continue to do that. Look for ways to improve yourself as you go. Whether you know it or not, all of us kind of gravitate to specific products. As a loan originator, you know, you could gravitate to like a conventional 30-year fixed rate, or you could gravitate to down payment assistance or regular FHA. But one of the things that we want to do is continue to push ourselves and get a little bit out of our comfort zone. So if there's products that you know are out there that you're not familiar with, learn about them. So this way, again, you up your game. The people that you come in contact with, the borrowers out there, they're paying for your expertise. You need to understand the products, the guideline, the processes. The more of that you know, the more you make yourself valuable and the higher price that you deserve for being that trusted advisor.
Okay. And here we have the obvious. A healthy body is a healthy mind. So our next few slides are going to review a few studies. One is submitted by Stanford on sitting versus walking. We're all guilty of putting our health on hold, but have you ever looked at the studies?
So one thing about this is when we've built our schedules and we look at, you know, how time is valuable, it's also valuable that we have our personal time, whether it's for your faith, your family, and your health. It has to be balanced. So we're talking a lot of business and we're talking about how we put that in, but you have to also set that other time aside. If you're going to do this for the long haul, you need to be good. You need to be great at balance.
So here we have a few graphs in regards to the Stanford study. And what it is the positive effect of walking on creative thinking. Okay, and this is accessible by going online and just viewing the reports. So our first report here was created by Marilyn Opizo and Daniel L. Stewart of Stanford University. They conducted a series of 4 experiments which demonstrated that walking boosts creativity in real time and shortly after. So here's experiment 1. As you can see, while seated and when walking on a treadmill, adults completed the Guilford's Alternate Uses, which is GAU test of creative divergent thinking, and the Compound Remote Associates, the CRA test of convergent thinking. Now, as you can see, walking increased 81% of participants' creativity on the GAU scale, but only increased 23% of participants' score with the CRA. And here's experiment 2. Participants completed the GAU when seated and then when walking and then seated, or when seated twice. Again, walking led to higher GAU scores. Moreover, seated after walking, participants exhibited a residual creativity boost. And here in experiment 3, the prior effects to outdoor walking. As you can see, experiment 4 tested the effect of walking on creativity generation. Participants sat inside and then they walked on a treadmill inside, and then they walked outside or were rolled outside in a wheelchair. Walking outside produced the most novel and highest quality analogies. The effects of outdoor stimulation and walking were severable. Walking opens up the free flow of ideas and is a simple and robust solution to the goals of increasing creativity and increasing physical activity.
I think a lot of people don't realize that by taking a 5 or 10 minute break, getting up and walking, not only does it give you an ability to kind of clear the air, clear your thoughts, but it also increases your ability to think, to negotiate, and to interact with other people. And as we all know, as originators, we're faced with a lot of unique situations that a lot of times we can't prep for. So to have your brain at its top, performance at any time during the day is probably the best way you're going to succeed.
And here we have a few sales techniques. Positivity. You always want to start with a positive topic when you're speaking to your potential borrower. Start with a positive and end on a positive. And I think most of you know this instinctively. You can also try watching TED Talks, Linda, or YouTube videos. There's a lot of research available online. You know, no more are the days where you can just reach for your grandparents' encyclopedias. Everything is available online. Stanford University provides online studies for free.
And I think the important thing, you know, to take a couple minutes and to improve our sales techniques through being able to see other webinars, seminars, or even short YouTube videos. You know, you can't be all things to all people, but you'll find stuff that fits within your personal style, and then you need to get really good at it.
You know, one study I watched showed an increase on tips for waiters just by welcoming their customers once they entered the restaurant. Waiters actually received a 27% increase on tips by providing a positive antidote.
And what's amazing to me is I think really good waiters instinctively know that, waiters and waitresses. I was in the restaurant business for many, many years, and I can tell you those that greeted and treated their patrons with a positive interaction right off the bat always made more tips. And the other ones somehow never really understood why.
So with positivity comes negativity, unfortunately. So don't self-sabotage. Don't speak ill of your competitors. If you say your competitor is of low quality, remember you're in the same business. So when you say negative comments, remember the borrower can't help but place you in the same group. You know, we are here to help people reach the American dream of home ownership, so keep it positive. The best response to a question about a competitor is no comment. Or you can always bring up your positive attributes. Respond with, I'm not sure about XYZ mortgage, but I can tell you that I will do everything I can to help you get the home you can afford and build great memories in. The next thing is use your body. So another study showed 2 videos, and I really enjoyed this. Both of the videos were muted. Each person viewing the video was asked to grade on knowledge, presentation skills, and likability. Keep in mind, there's no sound. The video had a group that was asked to present with confidence and use power poses. They were standing upright, smiling while presenting. This group was rated both high in confidence and knowledge, with no sound. Now the other group was asked to present as someone who was shy, not making eye contact, contracting their body inwards, no sound, all body language. And yes, you guessed it, they were rated very low in confidence, knowledge, and likability. We all send signals on how we feel with our body language. Try to watch a few body language videos, see if you are using negative movements. If you are down, it happens, but be aware of your body language.
Then again, as you interact with people, I think all of us realize that at least 50%, and some will say as much as 80% of the communication is through body language. If you've never taken a course on that and you're going to be in sales for this career, that is something you absolutely need to understand. Even if you don't learn to do it yourself, you need to read other people's body language, so it helps you decide when the person's ready to sell, ready to purchase, whether they trust you, whether they don't trust you, those type of things. And all of that, fortunately or unfortunately, usually can be read in somebody's body language. There's several courses out there to do that. And just make sure, you know, when you walk into a room, like Angela said, you know, how you hold yourself, how you're dressed even has something to do with it. I've worked with people in the past and say, oh, I dress like this because it's convenient and I feel okay with it. But if you you take one person who's dressed well, holds himself and their posture well, and put somebody next to him who's not dressed as well, nor has that same posture, automatically people will gravitate to the person who looks and acts the part first. So it gives them the upper hand when interacting with a new client or even a group.
And our next topic is reliability. Recently I met with a realtor. She is very loyal to one of our branches. And I asked her, what is it about them that you send all your business to them? And her answer was very simple. She said they answer my calls. And during the process, they take care of the financial issues that may arise. After the loan closes, they call me and they let me know what occurred. So they keep her aware and they answer her calls. The next item is knowledge. This one is difficult in our industry.
There's still a lot of change that's going on in our industry. As we all of us that have been in here for a while understands that it'll never be stagnant, right? There's either new regulations, new programs, old regulations coming back, new forms, new processes, new software. So all the time we have to invest and learn. By having the knowledge of the available programs, you're able to steer your borrower in the right direction. And I think most of us have heard this. If you go to the doctor and if you walk in, the doctor said, hey, you know what? I'm going to put you in an FHA loan. And they haven't even asked you any questions. They didn't ask you your FICO score. They didn't ask you how long you plan to own your home. They didn't ask you this about. So the same with us. In order to be able to prescribe and be a financial advisor, which most of us are when we're interacting with our borrowers, we need to be able to ask questions, have a list of programs, and not be afraid to say, you know what, there's something else I need to check on. This I think is where you should go, but I'm going to look at some other alternatives for you and provide them to you tonight, tomorrow morning, whatever. But just remember, the more knowledge you have, that makes you more valuable, and it makes you able to give better advice, and it makes you more valuable to your employer as well. And not all knowledge is right there. Sometimes you need to look a little harder for it than others. So remember, if there's anything in the industry that you're not certain of, NorthWest has a lot of great business development managers that can lead you in different directions. So where we're at today is we're finishing up with our part of the presentation. If you have questions, we're more than happy to answer some now. We're also going to give you some contact information at the end of this.
I don't think we have any questions. Okay, so our next training on setting yourself up for success will be on cybersecurity tips on February 21st from 10 to 10:30. This will be presented by Kurt Gasanaga. He's MWF's Chief Information Security Officer. To register for the webinar, please go to the MWF Bulk page. Under the Education tab, you can locate the webinar schedule and registration links, or you can download the webinar schedule from our handout panel.
We have two more after Kurt's cyber security awareness. And I have to tell you, if you value your personal computer and your work computer, you really need to attend that. It's 30 minutes of incredibly valuable information. Then we also have, later on in March, we have how to build your referral-based business. And then we are going to finish out this series with market insights. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable. Hopefully we've given you one or two tools that you could use. Again, our advice would be always look for one or two things that you should be implementing into your daily activities. And you should always have set yourself some goals and milestones so you know where you're going. We really appreciate you taking your time today. From Gary Martell,
Angela Perez.
Have a wonderful afternoon.